So you were on a 2-day fast and you came off the fast and you ate some dairy and boom, you got yourself an outbreak. You got cold sores, which are herpes, right? In case people don't know. So you got an outbreak and you're wondering why. And you're thinking, I was on a 2-day fast. And when I went off the fast 2 days later, I kind of had a lot of dairy. I wonder if that's why. Yes. That is why you got an outbreak. But let's look into this in a more expanded version to help more people out there who may be on a low-carb diet of any kind and just kind of want to avoid the foods that might give them an outbreak. So let's start with, first of all, foods that are high in arginine. Arginine and herpes are like the best buds in your body. They love each other. So high arginine foods, they gotta go. In the ketogenic world, high arginine foods are nuts and seeds, chocolate and cocoa powder, right? Any kind of chocolate. Got this collagen powder that I mix up in the morning, my milk, and drink it, and ooh, it's so good and it's so good for me. No. Lots of protein supplements, including bone broths, have tons of arginine in them. And you may be thinking, well, I make my own bone broth. Isn't that better? No, I would be very, very minimal on the bone broth thing. If you've been carnivore for a while and you're running pretty smoothly and you're not having any outbreaks, or maybe you're getting to a couple of years into carnivore and you've kind of forgotten what it's like to have an outbreak, then yeah, have some bone broth and see what happens. See how it makes you feel. See if you have any kind of reaction. But if you're still having reactions easily, haven't been carnivore for very long, stay away from bone broth in general. Along with that, stay away from gelatin generally, right? In powders especially, you guys stay away from that prepackaged stuff. You don't need any of it. Just no. Get it out of your body temple and, don't put that shit in there. Coconuts and coconut products, like coconut flowers, coconut this, coconut that. It's not officially a high arginine food, but it can be triggering to herpes. So maybe just kind of stay away or be very minimal. Peas, lentils, chickpeas, soy, any kind of soy product, get them out. They are high in arginine. Well, moving into the carnivore realm, limit or greatly reduce pork and turkey intake because they tend to be higher in arginine, and dairy as well. I specifically went to Dr. Robert Kiltz today. Go check him out. He knows a lot about these things. And one of the number one inflammatory markers for carnivores especially is dairy. Dairy of any kind, whether it's pasteurized or raw. If it's raw dairy, it's a little bit less. It's not quite as inflammatory as pasteurized milk, but it's still inflammatory. So can you eat butter? Yeah, that's not specifically dairy, okay? It's the fats. We can eat lots of fats from all sorts of different sources. But if you don't want to do butter, you can have some ghee, which is just the butter fat without any dairy in it at all. So the dairy products that are higher in arginine are yogurts, ricotta cheese, cottage cheese, and some other cheeses as well, which can be higher in arginine to lysine. And yeah, you can go find out which cheeses have lower arginine content than lysine. But for me, generally, if you're having outbreaks, just get rid of the dairy, because the other thing about dairy is you don't really know. You may think that you have no problem eating dairy at all, that you don't have any upset, but your body may be reacting to dairy in general, but we don't need it. It is not necessary. So you could just get rid of all dairy completely and move forward on your carnivore path, and you'll really be able to see if in fact it was the dairy that caused your outbreak. The second thing that you guys need to really watch out for are high inflammatory foods, foods that inflame you, and meat's not one of them. Okay, so let's take a look at the inflammatory foods for those who are more of a ketovore or ketogenic, low carb type, and they're still getting outbreaks. Number one, to get rid of seed oils. Get rid of them. They are highly inflammatory. The only oil that you could use are fruit oils like olive oil or avocado oil, although I would be very, very, very minimal. I would stay away from processed and cured meats to an extent. Depending on your metabolic health will depend on what types of processed meats that you can eat. If you go to the store and just buy bacon and don't look at the ingredients, most likely the bacon has added sugars that will cause inflammation and weaken your immune system, and your herpes virus is going to, yeah, let's go party. And they find a way to come out. The other thing that you might want to consider are factory farmed meat that have been fed high omega-6 fatty acids, starches, corn, things like that, that they may be feeding the animals with. If you're having really, really serious continual outbreaks, I would definitely look into that, because you may be saying, I only eat carnivore. I don't eat any dairy. I'm very, very strict, and I'm still getting outbreaks. It's been a long time and I'm still getting outbreaks. You may want to look at if you're eating any processed or cured meats and what is in there. You have to check your processed meats. You can get bacon. You can find bacon that does not have a bunch of things added into it. If you go to a specialized butcher, they will tell you. Don't get it at Walmart unless it's specifically designed without all the sugars and preservatives in it. And you may need to step away from that for a while. Okay, there's keto-friendly alcohols. Should I drink them? No! No. Stay away from alcohol of any kind, especially if you're going carnivore and you're working to build up your own body. Just stay away from it. And I say these things without meaning forever until the day you die, but especially if you're trying to limit, if not eradicate, your herpes outbreaks completely, stay away from alcohol. Alcohol, even though the keto-friendly ones, the ones that are not high in carbohydrates, can stress the liver. And when your liver gets stressed, your immune system dips. And when your immune system takes a dip, it can trigger an outbreak. Artificial sweeteners and those sugar substitutes, things like that. Okay, come on. Do I even have to mention this? If you're going keto or you are keto and you happen to have herpes of some kind and you keep getting outbreaks, that might be your reason, because it is full of aspartame, sucralose, erythritol, or xylitol, and it can cause havoc on your immune system, which will bring you an outbreak. What about coffee or caffeine in general, teas and coffee? If you're drinking too much and you have an outbreak, then you know that it is a problem. A lot of these areas are gray areas, and it's just important that each of us finds what works for us. So if I have too much coffee, I'm getting a spike in cortisol, and cortisol can trigger my immune system. Then I am opening up a pathway for a herpes outbreak. I can drink 2 to 3 cups of coffee a day, and I don't have a problem. I can also eat dairy. Doesn't seem to bother me, but if I eat yogurt, something begins to happen, and I can tell almost immediately. After a few days of eating yogurt continually, something will happen. I'll start itching, and I know if there's one spot that's itching, that's it. It's a herpes outbreak. If it's in the classic areas where I was getting outbreaks before, and people who know about herpes really know. Too much caffeine, you have to check for yourself. For a lot of people, the nightshade family, you kind of need to stay away from that. So the nightshades are things like tomatoes, peppers, eggplants, potatoes, all of these things you should just kind of eliminate. So to summarize, things to avoid are the high arginine foods. The other things to avoid are the inflammatory food. And what to eat instead? Lysine-rich meats, which are beef, lamb, chicken, salmon, eggs, and sardines. Gotta love those sardines. Eat healthy fats, butter, ghee or clarified butter, tallow. Those are basically your healthy fats. So to answer the question again, right? Was it the dairy that caused your outbreak? I would say yes. A couple of things happen when you fast. First of all, you go into autophagy. So your body is in cleaning mode, right? It's going in and getting rid of things that aren't supposed to be there. And because of that, your body is in a different state of existence than what it is on a regular day. So when you come back after a 2-day fast, one of the first things that you eat is dairy. Probably not a good idea. I think that next time you come out of a fast, maybe eat a soft-boiled egg. Maybe make a meat broth, not a bone broth, a meat broth, and introduce that. Make sure you're getting your fats. Ease yourself back into your regular diet. So those are the foods that you can eat and the things that you should avoid, especially if you have herpes of one form or another. I suggest if you do suffer from herpes outbreaks, move into the carnivore world, get rid of all the other things. It doesn't mean if you move carnivore that you're going to be there for the rest of your life and, oh my God, I can't eat meat all the time. All it means is that for a period of time, you are going to move into the carnivore world, kind of walk that path for a while. Just notice what happens. I hope I answered your question. Thank you so much for being here. If anybody's got any more questions, I will do my best to answer them. Again, I am not a doctor, so I cannot prescribe or tell you what to do. This is my journey. This is what happened to me, the good things that happened to me when I went carnivore, and I just want to share them with you and walk along beside you if you do decide to go down the carnivore path. All right, take care.